going, boys? Mike here. Welcome back to Grampie's workshop. Well, the estate car, you know, she was in bad shape there. Governor all kind of blew up on it. I ordered some parts. They come in the other day. Got a gasket and a governor gear. Let's get at her. Okay, we're getting at this job today. We're going to put everything back together and hopefully get it running. Everything's cleaned off here. I've got the gasket seat area all cleaned off. I think what I'll do is before I place that gasket in there, though, I'm going to get the cover, going to make sure that's clean, and I'm going to locate the governor gear on it. So this is the underside of the cover, and the governor gear goes on this pin shaft right here. And this is the governor gear with its wings, I guess, or ears. So as this gear spins, they fly out. When they fly out, they push a pin in the middle. They raise it up, and here's the pin. Now they supply 3 different pins, but also in the little package that came, there were these governor gear kit instructions, and it says for SV530 to SV620 engines, install the 25mm long regulating pin in the governor assembly. So this is an SV530, so I fall right in that category, and this is the pin that I'm going to use. So it goes, sets down in here between these ears, like so, and then this slides down over this shaft. Now it should slide in there and click in place, I think. I've never put one on before, so I don't really know for a fact, but oh yeah, look at that. I guess it does. So we don't need these parts. So there's our governor gear. So as that spins, you see those counterweights fly out and raise that pin in the middle. Well, I say raise it. In fact, what it's doing is this is going to turn around and set down into the engine block. So that's going to push down, and that's going to push down on the governor lever cross link. And that's going to make the governor work, I hope. So before I put my gasket on and start putting the cover back on, we have to get the cam gears in place. And the key here is we have to get this index line mark lined up with the EX on our cam gear. So something like just about like that. So let's try the input one now. This just goes on over here. There's a key, I guess, of sorts here with a pin, and that has to line up in that shaft. So I would say those timing marks are set good. So we're going to put the gasket on it now. So now we're going to try to get this to set in here. Oh, when we put this on, this shaft and this shaft have to line up with these 2 holes. So, let's see how that works out. Oh, and also the governor gear has to engage with the teeth on the input gear, and the input cam gear, right? There. Okay, we're going to put the cover bolts in now, and we're going to use some Loctite on the cover bolts, just because these tend to loosen themselves up in the running, and if they do that, they'll fetch up on this flywheel and destroy the engine. So I've got some blue Loctite here, but it's old. I don't know how good it's going to work, but we're going to put a little dab on each of these cover bolts as we put them in. Usually doesn't take much Loctite. So we'll do that, and hopefully that'll keep them in place. Don't forget, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just a, guy in the woods. So what I'm doing here is not a shop procedure, that's for sure. Okay, now I'm going to use just the impact gun just to snug them down, not to tighten them up. And I'm kind of going around the clock here to set them down, because I don't want to put too much force in any one of them at any one time. So I checked online to see what the torque ratings were for these bolts, and it says they were 216 inch-pounds. Now I had no idea what that was because my torque wrench is calibrated in foot-pounds. So I asked Alexa, and she said 216 inch-pounds was around 18.5 foot-pounds. So I set this to about 20. So we're going to have a go at this. And we're not going to snug them all down. We're just going to, go every second one, just bring them in a little bit tight before we actually start tightening them up. Because again, we don't want to bend. We don't want to bend the cover or warp it. And then once we get them all snug, then we'll try to go like opposite corners to tighten everything to the proper torque. Okay, so everything's snug, so let's go click them now. I think that's them all. All right, we're going to do every one of them now. So there's one click, 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 click. Okay, I think that's them all. Now I wonder if I can still turn my crankshaft. Yeah, it still turns. All right, I think we'll put our Magneto on next. So we'll take this screw out and this screw out. So the Magneto, the wires go down through this opening here, and then the Magneto sits right on there. Tell you boys, it's nice having this little dolly. It's making all the difference in the world because you can get all the tools. The tools are right there set up and easy to get at. You know, there's probably a torque setting for what these should be torqued down to. But here's what I'm thinking. This is just an aluminum casting, so they won't take a lot of torque, so I just snug them down. I think what I'll do next is put the voltage regulator on and connect those wires, and then I can put the starter back in. So the first thing you have to do is put these white wires back in this pin connector, eh? And if you remember when I took them out, there's little metal tabs on the back sides here that just sort of bend out a little bit. I'm going to make sure that they're bent out a little, but I don't want to bend them too far, because if you break that little tab off right there, then the connector is pretty well done for. If you look here, there's a little bit of an indentation on the top side of this, right here. See how that kind of goes up? So that's where we want to make that tab go in that indentation part. If you could understand what I'm trying to say there, I didn't make it very clear. Also, the polarity though is mean nothing. So that little recess that's there, so that tab that we folded up or bent up a little bit has to go into that little recess area. So let me see if I can get this. So this slides in like so, and it should slide into here. Click. There. I don't know whether you heard it or not, but I did. And then this one is going to go in this side till it clicks. There, did you hear it click? So that's it. The voltage regulator is going to, this plug is going to plug in the back of the voltage regulator. So we're just going to put some good old Vaseline on them, because you can't go wrong with Vaseline. And then we'll slide this connector in here. I guess maybe it goes this way. Yeah, that works better. And then that clicked, so now this bolts on right here. And this one goes down here. We'll snug that down here. Yep. Let's put the flywheel on. Okay, the flywheel sits on this. It's a tapered shaft, and there's also a key in it. So before we put the key in, just like to check, make sure that there's no deformations in it or anything. We'll put the key right there. And then the flywheel, big heavy old thing, goes down on there. Oh, get your fingers out of there, Michael. Okay. To tighten that flywheel down on there, once we put the bolt, the center bolt in here, that'll tighten that down. I'm using the same plug. Okay, now we can put the starter in. Goes up in here. Okay, we'll put the coil on next. And remember I said when we were taking the coil off, there's an upside and a downside to it. So this kill wire goes on the top, so that's going to sit on there. I take a business card, and this is an interesting business card. This is a business card I got from a channel called Tomoko's Enterprise. Dean Lorman lives in BC. And poor old Dean, I don't know that Dean is, I haven't heard from Dean in a while. I hope he's okay. So Dean, if you're watching, man, we're thinking about you, and hope you're doing well, buddy. So we're going to turn this flywheel now. I wonder which way this turns. Alright, it turns that way. Good. Okay, so this card is going to go between that magnet and the coil. And I use the card just because that's a good gap for the coil from the magnet. So we line that magnet up with the coil, and then the force of the magnet just draws the core of the coil right into where it should be, lined up. So then we just tighten these buddies. And then we should be able to turn this and take the card out, and that should be set up. One thing I forgot to do is this little wire here. There was a little clip on it, and then there's a little knob on here, and then that just clips on there and holds that wire nice off the cylinder. Isn't that handsome? And then this high tension lead comes around this way, and I'm going to tighten up that plug right now before I forget. That'll do that, and then we can put that plug wire on there. Okay, now what? We're going to put this throttle plate back on. So that goes up here. Now one thing I want to make sure of is that I get all the linkages right. The governor spring is still on the governor, so that's good. Since I didn't disconnect anything, this should all just slip back up in here. Just as neat and as tidy as anything. I'm going to try and set this back to about where it was when I removed it, because I can see the marks on the throttle plate. I'll put it like somewhere around where it was to begin with. When we start it up, it'll be close enough so we can just have to do maybe a little bit of tweaking to get the idle right. Alrighty. Okay, we're going to put the fan on next, and the fan, let me see, there's two like knobs here, and they go into those holes. That's how you know that's located correctly. And then this little cover goes in there, and then we put our center bolt in again. And now we can tighten her up for keeps. Alright, that'll do that. And then we have this grill that goes on the top. Something like that. So then we put our backer plate on. And then we put our valve cover hose in here. That'll get tightened down when I put the cover on. The drain plug is put back in place. I think we need to put some oil in it now. So I've taken the oil filter off the machine, because it was pretty well filled with that contaminated oil from either water or gas or both getting into it. So I have another filter here. So we'll put this one on. And I like to mark the filters, the date that I put them on. So I'll get a marker and do that. March 25. I have my oil here. I already had it. It takes 1.5 liters, this engine. So I've already portioned out 1.5 liters of oil here. These filters, because they go on vertically this way, sometimes it's a good idea to fill them with oil first. That way it doesn't have to fill up the oil filter before it starts to actually pump oil around the engine. So now we're going to put this on here. And then I have a little filter wrench here. Now, you don't put filters on real tight, eh? Everybody knows that. But it's good to have them snug so that they don't leak. So we're going to put some more oil in here. So I'll save that container. So here is another liter of oil I'll put in here. I hope you're noticing how well I'm using my parts caddy here. That says it's full right now. Well, the moment of truth, I guess, eh? We're just going to try it, see what happens. That's all we can do. So, throttle on, gas is on, choke's on. So I'm not going to let this engine run too long in the shop here because it's all enclosed and I don't want to die. But it works good. It throttles up and it throttles down. Governor was definitely the problem. Of course, we saw that when we stripped the engine apart and the governor was blown apart. So thanks a lot for watching. Sure hope you enjoyed the little video about me fixing my estate car. Don't forget, folks, please thumbs up me. Sure helps the channel a lot. And have a great week. We'll talk to you.